arts educator for the Jewish Community Center Child Development Center. I thought that I would show you a really simple watercolor technique today that you can use to send as a greeting card to somebody. Since in this difficult time we're not able to see as many people as we would like, sending cards can be more important than ever. It's also nice to receive them. So what we're using for this activity is watercolor paper. I have a pad here that I cut it up into 4 smaller pieces, and I have watercolors, of course, painter's tape, and I have 2 different kinds of brushes here. I've got this foam brush and a regular paintbrush. And our last sort of secret ingredient is a white crayon. I'll explain how we're going to use that shortly. So let's get started. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I am going to attach this piece of watercolor paper to, I've just got a regular plastic sheet here that's sort of protecting my desk. And I am going to tape it to the plastic piece. And it's helping to keep it in place for me, but also at the same time, when I'm finished and I peel this away, it leaves a nice crisp border that looks really nice. I never get mine quite straight, but it still looks pretty good, I think. This is an example of one I did earlier. Okay, so we've got our card taped down here. Now this is where we use the crayon. You can use a clear crayon if you have it. They do sell those wax crayons. Otherwise, you could use a lighter color like a yellow or a pink if you don't have white. But white works as well too. You just can't necessarily see what you're doing. I have tried this with a couple of different techniques. I tried writing a letter. That wasn't super clear. I'm not sure if you can see because of how this is taped. It's a reverse, but this is supposed to be an S. I didn't think it could be seen all that clearly, so I thought this time we would try making just a design to see how that looks. Now, when you do this, you can't exactly see what you're doing, but that's kind of a fun part. So I think that what I'm going to do is just start making some lines here. It might be fun to kind of try to turn this into almost like a plaid. We'll see. One of the great things about making art is how often you end up with happy accidents when something doesn't turn out quite like you anticipated, but you still really like the result. So I've got my sort of plaid here. Okay, and now we get started with the watercolor. So I've got my paper towel ready. I'm just going to kind of brush off any excess crayon wax. And I like to, for the background, I don't like to have something too specific in mind because with watercolors, it's really difficult to have a really great plan because I like the sort of dreamy quality that comes from this. So I've got my watercolors here, but first I'm going to take my foam brush here. And I'm just going to do a layer of water. Now, I'm going to take my brush. My art supplies are quite old and weren't taken care of that well by a younger me, but we're working with what we've got right now. So I've got my brush. And I am going to, I think let's start with some blue. So I'm going in here with the blue. I'm getting a lot of pigment on my brush. And now that this is wet here, all I have to do is kind of tap it a little bit. And it sort of spreads out and does this sort of almost like, well, they call it bleeding, which in this case is a good thing actually. And I'm just sort of tapping it, not pressing down too hard, in lots and lots of different places. Right now that looks kind of strange, but I think we'll like it as we kind of move along here. So let's pick up another color. I really like the green I've got here. Tap, tap. And this is a good activity if you have great dexterity in your hands or not so great dexterity in your hands. Because again, one of the great things about watercolor is how it turns into sort of a happy accident. You never quite know what you're going to end up with, but very often you love the results. Yellow is my favorite color, so I'm definitely going to stop here for some yellow. You can touch the other colors and add to that sort of dreamy effect. It's okay if things get a little mixed up. I kind of like that. I feel like I would like maybe some red. It might turn out to be a little bit pink on here. We'll see. That's also cool, not exactly knowing what you're going to get here. Oh no, that's kind of a red. And you can see where the wax crayon that I used is resisting the watercolor paint. Let's go with a little orange. Load up that brush. Drop it in places. Brush a little bit if you want. And I think I'll finish off with a little bit of purple here, just to see if I can catch anything I might have missed. I've got my window open, so hopefully a train won't go by, but you can hear the birds. Okay, so you can either let it dry like this, or if you're impatient, like I can be sometimes, you can take your paper towel and sort of dab at it. Go along my edges here to make sure nothing bleeds on there that I don't want to. Okay, now that's really pale now, so if I don't love what I just did there with that, I can always, always, always go back in again with some more paint if I have dabbed away too much. But this is also a way to, if there's something you didn't particularly like, that you can sort of adjust and fix. So I would recommend letting this dry like this. I don't know if I already said this. I apologize if I did. And then once it's dry, you can take the tape off and it leaves you with that nice border we discussed earlier. That looks kind of like that. So I think it would be a really nice surprise for some people in your life to receive a beautiful card from you, made by you, which makes it all the more special. This is something you can do with younger kids, older adults, and everybody in between. Who doesn't like to play with watercolors? I find it really relaxing, and there's not a lot of pressure on you to get things exactly right because of the nature of the watercolors doing sort of just what it wants to. So that's where I'm going to leave this for now. I'm going to let it dry. Once it dries, I'll peel the tape away. And then I could use a marker or something to actually write a note on top of this. If you wanted to say, thinking of you, or hello, or Shabbat Shalom if you're going to send it on, if they're going to receive it on a Friday. So hopefully this is something that you can use and will bring a smile to your day. And thank you for letting me come into your home. Good night.